Hey everybody, this is Perch. A lot of people, I think they assume that when something ends or dies, it's through conflict or it's through fire, it's through rage, it's through a bunch of kind of chaotic, huge messes that ultimately putting an end to something. But if you look at history and if you look at how a lot of things have come to a conclusion, apathy is usually a far more common indicator of when things collapse. People just kind of stop caring and then it dies. And there's lots of different reasons why it gets there. There's been so many movies and articles and other things written about Blockbuster and their failure to innovate and to capture the market and to chase the wrong things. Same thing with Kodak. And that's all true. They got disrupted by some new technology, something that, that basically came in and took away their cheese in management terms. But another aspect to that is their customers, the lifeblood to their product, became apathetic. And one of the things that struck me as I was reading a book recently, I try and mix it up between nonfiction and fiction. In my profession and what I'm doing right now, a lot of people I talk to will say I only read nonfiction, and I always think those people are super weird. You need to see everything. But this book was pretty good. It's talking about kind of the fall of Blockbuster. I need to get the name. It may have been the fall of Blockbuster. But one of the things that struck me was it talked about how they missed a bunch of moments where they absolutely could have kind of pivoted their business model. They could have been Netflix, and Blockbuster was doing a few things that Netflix got into. I mean, they were starting to produce and finance their own movies, for example. They were trying. Blockbuster had a moment where it was doing a lot of the right things. You might argue at the wrong moment. The book makes the case that what kind of tipped them over and caused them to collapse was apathy, not from the customers, although they certainly got there too, but from the employees, from the management. They're describing meetings where, senior level directors, vice presidents, others come into a room and go, with the quote that haunted me was one of the VPs said, maybe it's just our time to die, responding to a bunch of falling metrics. Now think about that for a moment. This is a leader, somebody in the company who's paid, probably quite well, probably, if not seven figures, close to it. And in response to things are going bad, said, maybe it's just our time to die. And the book makes a point of this wasn't a doom and gloom person. It wasn't an attempt to kind of get everybody all rallied up like, no, we're not going to die. Let's go get them. None of that kind of stuff. It was, hopelessness. That's what it was. It was describing a sense of just finality, inevitability, hopelessness. Or, in my word, apathy. And how striking, because that's the group of people that a company hires to get them to survive, to help pull them out, to go stronger and do more. That's the crew. I push back a lot, and generally those are the videos that get picked up on Kiwi Farms and other places. Like apologist Perch says that the comic industry is doing great, and it's that that's a voice. I don't know what I'm doing there. But I push back a lot on this idea that the comic industry is dying. And really for one very practical, very pragmatic reason. It's easy to produce a comic. And yes, I get hung up on the words, but words matter. And the reality is, if a big company fell, if a Marvel and a DC fell, and they stopped putting out comics, there's tons of companies that would fill that vacuum. Now, maybe they'd be operating at a lower state for sure. They'd be operating at a lower state. Maybe, the new average of comics would settle down to the 10,000 copies, which would be terrible. But that's not death. I know you're forgiven for, for mistaking that for death, because it's certainly not good. But, having worked with and looked at a lot of companies that truly died, Blockbuster does not exist. Toys R Us is gone. Or JCPenney is on the verge of death. You remember Borders? I kind of liked Borders. Borders always felt a little bit more snobby than Barnes and Noble, but I don't know. There's a lot of good books I found at Borders that I couldn't find other places, but that's death. So, but if, and the other factor again that keeps that is the elephant in the room is Marvel and DC have a massive wallet behind them. And yes, Disney is laying off 7,000 jobs. Notice that Kathleen Kennedy is not one of them. Internet, whatever. It's likely, highly likely, like 99% likely, that Marvel will keep publishing comics. That Disney will keep funding it because it doesn't cost much. And it's, basic marketing IP stuff. I don't, that's almost that's not, if you're trying to get excited and passionate about your company, a way not to do that is to say, hey, don't worry, we're going to survive because we got a big, rich corporate giant and we don't cost that much to operate. And so we just kind of slip through the cracks and, we keep going. Like, yay, let's all win today. That's not a rallying statement, but, it also is relatively true. But if the comics business or a company or publisher was going to collapse, I'd blame it on apathy. There's several customers that are already there where, there's this big fight that goes on between, creators and people on YouTube who are just trashing a comic and getting really pissy about it. But look, half of comics YouTube doesn't talk about comics anymore. They've squeezed. They're off talking about what Elon Musk's former girlfriend, who was a human trafficking survivor, or maybe she wasn't. We're not sure, or maybe she was, but then she posted some, nudie photos. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But we've walked through a fascination with Amber Heard that just was never ending. Video after video after video from comic channels. We've walked. Now we're walking through this whatever this story is, and people banned from Twitter. And is it fair? And I'm like, that's apathy. If in many ways, I'm sure there are people in comics who wish they could go back like 4 or 5 years ago and everybody was talking about Max Bemis and Gabby Rivera and Mags, and they were all obsessed with that. Like that's that, weirdly enough, that was a healthier time. But the apathy that troubles me more is it's the apathy inside the company. Sure, I want the customers happy for sure, and I want customers excited about the comics being produced. But the one that it's like that phrase in the book that struck me, like of the Blockbuster guy saying maybe it's our time to die. You get that sense from people, and I'll tell you, and this I've heard directly from more than one person who works inside the big two of, yeah, I don't know if we will keep going. I don't know. How bizarre. And look, I did a video months ago now for the Murder World comic. And in this comic, it's up on marvel.com. You've got the stations there and a little web page built. And when you click on the, see all the comics in Murder World, because they're doing it a little different. They're doing it in a way that, again, somebody could sit down with you and explain why they're doing it this way, and it will sound logical. Still, it isn't logical, but somebody could do it. They have all these comics as number ones, like Murder World Spider-Man number 1, Murder World Wolverine number 1. And, it's just, it looks like a bunch of one-shots. It's hard to wrap your head. As a retailer, I'll just tell you, because I argue with people at Marvel on this. As a retailer, that shit drives me crazy. And it drives everyone crazy. People do not know what to do with that as a retailer. It is absolutely a good way to tank a comic. It just looks like a bunch of one-shots that are connected somehow, and it makes it hard to put it on a pull list. And then again, I say it makes it hard. It's not that hard. A retailer could sit down and go, well, this is Murder World, Jim's up. Would you like it? There's going to be 5. I did some looking here. They could do it. But that effort, what I just talked about, even 30 seconds of having to think and put that stuff together, times the 500 comics that are coming out a month, yeah, people aren't going to do it. It won't happen. You're making it hard to buy your comic. But several, like more than a month ago, 2 months ago, I don't know, I did a video where I was saying, how absurd is this? You go Marvel.com to look at Murder World, and you click on the link to see kind of the full summary of what's going on, and it goes to a dead page. It goes to a 404 error. And it drove me crazy. And I did video. I heard from several people at Marvel, both creators and full-time employees. Oh, yeah, I saw your video. Well, some of the links worked. What the fuck? Some of the links worked. Fix the link, asshole. Fix the link. So I went back and checked. Here we are, 2 months later? And time has no meaning. Links are still dead. They still don't work. Nobody fixed it. Why? What is going on over there? It sounds like a tiny detail, but you know what it looks like to customers, to fans, to retailers? It looks like apathy. It looks like you don't care. That's exactly how it comes across. And if there's one thing that is going to kill the comic industry, maybe put a real spicy headline like "The death of the comic industry is nigh." That way it sounds classy, because I'm using the word nigh and classy word. Anyway, if there's something that is going to be stronger than the pocketbook of Disney, or the fact that there are hundreds of comics out there and it's fairly easy to get them going, or the passion of a lot of creators who legitimately love making comics and will do it for free if they have to. So they just have that burning desire inside of it. If there's one thing that will defeat that, it's apathy. Apathy is far more powerful than anger, than rage, than momentary bursts of, shouting and screaming. Apathy is corrosive. It sticks, and it's almost impossible to get rid of once it's settled in. Apathy is absolutely the death of things. And when I see, when you see stuff, and again, this is a tiny little thing, but there's a lot of tiny little things like that. Here's what I don't understand. Thunderbolts. It's there's a movie coming out or a TV show. It's unclear if it's a movie or a Disney Plus series. It looks kind of like a movie, but you can't really tell. Anyway, Thunderbolts coming out from the MCU, announced. Thunderbolts has a huge history inside of Marvel. There's been a couple different series, but the original one went for a lot of issues. I think it passed 100. Maybe I'm wrong. But I mean, there was a lot there. It is a fondly remembered title that survived. So you have a big MCU announcement. Thunderbolts is coming. You have a legacy title that actually has a lot of value inside the company. Okay, let's do another series. Marvel, that almost never announces that something is a limited series out the gate. They just, like kind of by issue 2 or issue 3, they go, "Oh yeah, this is always meant to be a 6-issue series." Or you talk to one of the creators, or even worse, one of the creators just goes on Twitter and goes, "Yeah, I'm only signed up for 6 issues, so I don't know what's going on." It's very helpful, thank you. But Marvel very, very typically, launches these titles, doesn't put a number behind it, and just has it out there. With Thunderbolts, they tripped all over themselves to make it very, very fucking clear it's a 5-issue limited series. Only 5 issues. It's only 5 issues, folks. 5 issues. Why? It cuts the legs out from under that comic. Why? And look at it this way too. I didn't even give you all the things that were in its favor. It was coming out of this event. What was the event? The Kingpin? No, Devil's Reign. Was that it? No. Anyway, the Kingpin was the mayor, and then Luke Cage is going to be the mayor, and the Thunderbolts was kind of a spin-off of that. You have the movie announcement. You have the history of the comic. Hawkeye had, fairly recently had a, Disney Plus series of his own. He's going to be in the team. Captain Marvel, the Monica Rambeau Photon version, is was also featured on Disney Plus. Going to be featured in a movie. America Chavez featured right at that moment in Doctor Strange 2. Like this comic had tons going for it, but Marvel decided to hype it up as 5 issues. Why? 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 Again, it feels like apathy. That's what worries me for the future of the comic industry. Not, wokeisms, not, other dumb shit, poor business plan, none of that, but apathy. That guy at Blockbuster. Maybe it's just our time to die. I mean, yeah, it's going to be this very dad statement I'm about to make. Yeah, with that attitude, you will. It can't be like this. It can't. And every single time I see somebody bitching about, this, some inker over here and a cover artist, are bitching at each other on Twitter. Like, okay, well, who fucking cares? Who cares? When you're fumbling things like the Thunderbolts, when you have websites where the links, just don't work, when you have pages and panels where, like, just there was a comic a couple of weeks ago where the text in the word bubble just didn't print. They didn't put the text wasn't in the bubble. In a digital world, what the hell? You have there's solicitations that come out that feature the wrong creative team. Like, come on. Apathy is a killer. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course. And or don't. You can be apathetic about it. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Maybe it's our time to die. That one's for you, Mumbles. Thanks for living.